Good day to you, ma'am. I am Sheila Militehio Sonsoles. In this video, I'm going to discuss about structure of an atom. When we say atom, the atom is the smallest unit into which matter can be divided without the release of electrically charged particles. It also is the smallest unit of matter that has the characteristic properties of a chemical elements. As such, the atom is the basic building block of chemistry. Primarily, the atomic structure of matter is made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons. The protons and neutrons make up the nucleus of the atom, which is surrounded by the electrons belonging to the atom. So the electrons have a negatively charged particles, while the neutron particles that contain no charge, and the proton have a positively charged particles. The existence of atoms has been proposed since the time of the early Indian and Greek philosophers, who were of the view that atoms are the fundamental building block of matter. According to them, the continued subdivisions of matter would ultimately yield atoms which would not be further divisible. The word atom has been derived from the Greek word atomio, which means uncut, able, or non-divisible. These earlier ideas were mere speculations, and there was no way to test them experimentally. These ideas remained dormant for a very long time and were derived again by scientists in the 19th century. The atomic theory of matter was first proposed on a firm scientific basis by John Dalton, a British school teacher, in 1808. His history called Dalton's atomic theory regarded the atom as the ultimate particle of matter. Dalton's atomic theory was able to explain the law of conservation of mass, law of constant composition, and law of multiple proportion very successfully. However, it failed to explain the results of many experiments. For example, it was known that substances like glass or ebonite, when rubbed with silk or forget electricity charge, discover a subatomic particles. An insight into the structure of atom was obtained from the experiments on electrical discharge through gases. Before we discuss this result, we need to keep in mind a basic rule regarding the behavior of charged particles. Like charges repel each other, and unlike charge attract each other. Discovery of electron. In 1830, Michael Faraday showed that if electricity is passed through a solution of an electrolyte, a chemical reaction occurred at the electrodes, which resulted in the liberation of matter at the electrodes. He formulated certain laws which you will study in class. This result suggested the particulate nature of electricity. In mid-1850s, many scientists, mainly Faraday, began to study electrical in partially evacuated tubes, known as cathode ray discharge tubes. It is depicted that a cathode ray tube is made of glass containing two thin pieces of metal the gases could be observed only at very low pressures and at very high voltages. The pressure of different gases could be adjusted by evacuation of the glass tubes. When sufficiently high voltage is applied across the electrodes, current starts flowing through a stream of particles, moving in the tube from the negative electrode or cathode to the positive electrode or anode. These were called cathode rays or cathode ray particles. The flow of current from cathode to anode was further checked by making a hole in the anode and coating the tube behind the anode with post-percent material zinc sulfide. When these rays, after passing through anode, strike the zinc sulfide coating, a bright spot is developed on the coating. Discovery of protons and neutrons, which is the electrical discharge carried out in the modified cathode ray tube, lead the discovery of canal rays carrying positively charged particles. The characteristics of the positively charged particles are, unlike cathode rays, mass of positively charged particles depends upon the nature of gas represented in the cathode ray tube. These are simply the positively charged gaseous ions. The charge to the mass ratio of the particles depends on the gas from which these originate. Some of the positively charged particles carry a multiple of the fundamental unit of electrical charge. The behavior of the particles in the magnetic or electrical field is opposite to that observed for electron or cathode rays. The smallest and lightest positive ions was obtained from hydrogen and was called proton. These positively charged particles was characterized in 1919. Later, a need was felt for the presence of electrically neutral particle as one of the constituents of atom. These particles were discovered by Chadwick in 1932 by bombarding a thin sheet of beryllium by particles. When electrically neutral particles having a mass slightly greater than of proton were emitted, and he named this particle as neutrons. So that's all. Thank you.